now tuned in to the cold, hard truth. Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands. Miracle Brokers is back. That's right. We're fully reopened and back to work. Our agents are here to serve you with all of your packing and shipping needs. Need to move? Don't worry. Give us a call today. Collect a package, shipping around the world, or straight to Cayman? You got it. Give us a call on 949-5989. Collection by personalized appointment only, where our dedicated agents are on standby to personally assist you. Don't forget to wear your mask, maintain social distancing, and one person per appointment. Check us out at miraclebrokers.com today.
Good morning, folks. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday. Hi, Miss Joy. How are you? Just checking a few things with the internet. Okay, so I think we're good to go. Good morning, everyone. Gosh, froggy throat this morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you guys are well. There will be a press briefing this evening, so please let's not forget that is at roughly 2 o'clock, give or take a few minutes. Hi, Maureen. Thank you for tuning in this morning. How is everyone? My sinuses are a little congested, so you know how that is. So I've had to put some eye drops in this morning. I've got to get to actually a doctor's appointment for the optometrist because I think I need to refresh some ointments that I normally use for my eyes as well. So how are you guys doing? I'm so glad it's Friday. Although right now, Fridays are like, it doesn't really matter because trust me, you have the same amount of commitments Friday going into the weekend and the same amount of work that you do anywhere else. The most amazing thing is that on weekends, I find that I seem to do more work during the week sometimes, during the weekdays, because at the end of the day, you can sit down and kind of get like paperwork and stuff like that done. And of course, during COVID, we did not have the traditional office environment for those of you who are used to that. There's some of us who honestly, I'm just looking for my tissue, folks. There's some of us who honestly were not on that schedule anyway. I think I may have to go and get a tissue. I don't seem to have my tissue here this morning. All right, give me one quick second. I'm actually going to go and, because I can feel my eyes are actually running already for the day. So I do want to grab a tissue so that I don't have to keep touching my fingers close to my eyes. So give me one quick second and I'm going to be right back. Good morning, Odette. Good morning, Evelyn, Carol, Bonnie, Gina. Good morning to all of you. Just give me a quick second here and I will be right back. I'm going to leave this message up here in case you haven't heard about this prize that we're offering. We're going to talk about that a little bit this morning as well when I come back. Okay, folks, I am back. Thank you so much for your patience. I just needed to get some tissue this morning. As I said on the onset of the show, my sinuses are a little they're just acting up this morning. And of course, that means that my eyes also are giving me a bit of a tricky time. So I've got my trusty eye drops, and I needed some tissue to kind of try to settle. It always seems like the left eye is definitely my weaker or worse eye for any kind of like dryness or allergies or anything that I might have going on. So yeah, so thank you guys once again for tuning in. I see Elizabeth is here. Buenos dias, Elizabeth. Carol, Melita. So Kathy has a question about when government is going to allow the sector to reopen along with other businesses, including government themselves. The traffic department is still closed. Is it really difficult to get through certain transactions with the government still on lockdown? Well, I think those are going to be, honestly, Kathy, the last sectors to open. And in fact, the government is encouraging people, companies, and maybe even themselves, because I think Francis Anderson has spoken about this just a little bit, but they are encouraging people to consider whether or not a lot of their staff cannot continue to work from home. Because if they're at home and they're getting their work done the exact same way, the question becomes, what is the issue? But Kathy does make a fair point in terms of forward-facing staff who provide that customer service. However, I must tell you, Kathy, I've done a number of transactions during the COVID, during the lockdown, including a vehicular inspection and registration. I've renewed my driver's license because my driver's license had actually expired. And I've done a vehicular transfer, and I'm a notary. So every day I'm signing documents for people who are transferring their vehicles. And to be honest, none of them have really had an issue. And even, I think it was on Wednesday, I received a phone call from, I think it was after 10 o'clock in the morning, from the Department of Licensing, just to confirm they're now printing off I renewed my license a couple months ago, like it was right in the middle of the COVID shutdown, and they were just confirming that they would be emailing, or not emailing, but they'd be printing the actual hard copy of the license, and that would now be sent out to my mailbox. And so that I should have a look out for that. And they just wanted to confirm my information that was on the license, my address, as well as the address that they were actually going to be mailing the license to is still current and good for me. So I personally have not had any issues getting any services done like DVDL. They actually, I think a lot of them are in the office. They're just not open to the public because that, of course, creates an additional layer of issues. And you have to remember that when they reopen to the public, chances are they will still only be having so many people allowed in that space at one time. You're going to have to be lined up outside, sorry. And so I think they're trying to, Kathy, in all fairness, avoid all of that stuff if they can. And there's a lot of companies that are recognizing that COVID-19 has presented an opportunity for a bit of a new normal situation. And one of those new normal situations is that, a lot of things can be done remotely. We have the resources to do it. We have the technology to do it. So why not do it? So there are companies like, which I'm always surprised at hearing, like Instagram and Facebook, they're going to have their staff work remotely. I'm like, should that not be the easiest thing in the world for, should that not be the easiest thing in the world for people to be able to do when they are working in like online services anyway? So I did find that a little bit peculiar that they were now saying that this was like a decision that they were going to actually have to make. And I'm thinking, okay. So companies all over the world that will be working remotely, I'm going to give you a list of names. I think they are very, very interesting. So of course, Facebook is one of them. And he owns Instagram. Twitter has also said that their staff are going to continue working from home forever if they choose to do so. So they haven't given any details on what specific employees, but obviously there's some that might be front-facing persons that will have to come into the office. Sorry. My apologies. Got something in the background here. So very good. I'm just reading some of your messages. Okay. So Twitter, Square, Shopify, and these are all kind of like online. There's one called Grupo PSA. They're saying that they're announced a new era of agility in which its non-production staff will work remotely from now on. And this is what they said: given the positive experience and efficient measures already taken in the context of COVID-19, Grupo PSA has therefore decided to strengthen teleworking, as they're calling it, and to make it a benchmark for activities not directly related to production. The company plans to redesign its offices to allow for in-person collaboration when needed, but PSA will reduce its real estate footprint. And the company said it will allow employees to have a better work-life balance and easier commutes. So, of course, this is fantastic for a lot of persons. And one of the things that's interesting, though, is if you're going to be working from home and using your own resources, I'm always curious to know, these companies will actually be saving money because naturally, like this company just said, they're going to be reducing their real estate footprint. So what that actually means is they're not going to be paying as much for real estate. And places like California, New York, that could be a humongous savings. So for people who have the ability to work from home and who have the desire to work from home, I think that that is fantastic for them. And, you know, allowing that level of collaboration and flexibility is the right word that I'm looking for, I think is really quite wonderful. And it certainly speaks volumes to the new era that is being ushered in. So government obviously will face some challenges, but I hope that they all consider giving employees, since they're saving by and large, they're going to consider giving employees actual, maybe a little bit something extra, like a stipend, to go towards the usage of utilities, internet, and stuff like that. When you are working remotely and you're working from home, those are things and resources that you are utilizing from your home budget. So I hope these companies are fair in regards to that part of it. But of course, you also save in the commute. So you're saving in gas money, for example, which can be quite expensive as well. So Kathy, what I would suggest is if there's something specific that you need from DVDL, I must say that still having offices closed has continued to help the traffic. There's definitely more traffic on the roads right now, but it still isn't what it would be if all of those offices reopen. So if you're in town at 5 o'clock this week and you leave town at 5 o'clock, yes, you will have encountered some traffic, but you're not going to be like bumper to bumper, and it's not going to take you an hour and a half to get from Georgetown into the Eastern Districts. Happy Friday, Diana. Thank you for tuning in. Jake is here for it. Good morning, Jake. How are you? Hi, Charlene. Good morning to you. And Irvlyn. Irvlyn says, the cues reminds me. I think, I'm not sure if that's a complete thought. Elizabeth, buenos dias. Krista, happy Friday. Are you ready to come on next week, Krista? We are ready for you, girl. Olivia, thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, Miss Sue is always here for the tea. First thing in the morning. So good to see you guys. Let us do a little bit of positivity this morning, starting off with our daily OM going into the weekend. I'm just reading another article here from Forbes magazine about what companies are allowing people to stay home. So this company, president of Global Workplace Analytics, did a survey And they found, based on this Gallup poll, that 77% of the workforce said that they would want to continue to work from home at least weekly when the pandemic is over. So 25 to 30% of the workforce will be working from home multiple days a week by the end of 2021. So these are some changes that have been ushered in. And the census seems the widespread availability and ease of use of technologies to collaborate and stay in constant contact, such as Zoom, Slack, Google Hangouts, and other services, enabled people to smoothly adapt to the new work from home setup. And employees appreciated the chance to avoid long commutes, look after their homebound children as schools closed, and tend to family members who may have been impacted by the virus. And executives noticed that the potential cost savings as expensive long-term leases for office space may no longer be needed. Corporate executives are cognizant that their employees enjoy the chance to work from home, and they're able to do their part in helping the environment as less people drive or take buses to and from the office. And their real estate costs will drop precipitously as less people will be working in the office. So Shopify, Coinbase, Upwork, Lambda schools, and others have permitted their employees to work from home. And Shopify is a fast-growing Canadian-based company, global company that offers an e-commerce platform for online stores and retail point of sales. So yeah, there's a number of different companies who are taking on board, this whole work at home thing. So we'll see. The short answer, Kathy, is we don't know. I think we might get some additional insight today on when that will happen, but I think they're going to be the last quadrant of persons to return to the economy. And you know what employees have said to me as well, is their employers are actually getting more productivity out of them because when they get up in the morning, even some people in licensing have said this to me, like company licensing and stuff like that. When they get up in the morning, they might have a quick shower, run to their computer. They start earlier because they don't have this commute so early in the morning. So they're able to get started earlier. And so they're able to get started earlier in the mornings. And sometimes they even end up working a little bit later. They can take breaks with a little bit more flexibility throughout the day. And so, in fact, their employers end up getting more hours out of them, which is a good thing. Good morning, Dawn. Thank you so much. Happy Friday, Cece. Elizabeth has joined us. Good morning, Lizette. Cece says a lot of people would be out of business who makes a living from renting office space. I don't necessarily think that that's the case. There'll still be people who will rent office space. But if you are running out of office space, as some people are, a lot of these large law firms and stuff, they're always cramped for space. Freeing up some of that space, they still own the buildings and they're still going to be in these buildings. Freeing up that space, I think, will not be an issue. Rentals here in Cayman and even commercial rentals have always been in the favor of the renters. I mean, there's never been an empty space that remains empty for long. And, office space is one thing, but there will be retail space available for other things as well. So, and there are people who will still desire to have an office, just to have a different work environment from which to be able to get up in the morning and see a different scenery and so on. So what do you guys think? I mean, do you think that working from home is a great idea for a lot of people? I mean, look at government. Look at how much money we spent, millions and millions and millions of dollars over the year renting places. Even as we built the new government building, we were already out of space. There were certain entities that were supposed to go in that building who never made it in that building. I think SEMA was one of those that maybe were supposed to move. So we're renting space all over the world, all over the island, Elizabethan Square. Remember, the sports department was like in another building. There was a report a number of years ago that I do recall was actually done talking about the amount of money government is spending on rental space. And it's not just the rent, it's the CUC, it's the outfitting of these units, which sometimes can go into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So CC, the other way to think about it is the business people who are in the business of renting, maybe they will become more innovative and more progressive about how to rent and bring down their pricing these spaces. But think of how much money government could save if they didn't have staff like all over the place, and staff actually willing to work from home, still collaborate in the same way, and still get stuff done. So there's always two sides to a coin, right? So that is something to think about. And if we're overly concerned about the real estate moguls who have enjoyed a large degree of profit over the years with overinflated rents, I mean, the square footage for rent anywhere in Georgetown is just absolutely ridiculous. You can't get a place for like under $2,000. And so I think that, a lot of people will certainly find other ways to spend that money. And if you work for a company that isn't spending that money in rent, imagine the other things that they could be doing with that money, including staff bonuses and incentives and, other such things. So Shanna, thank you so much for tuning in. Lily is also here. Bonnie says, going from your topic, Sandra, is it correct for Fidelity pension to tell a person he can't get his pension because he's in prison when he has a sick mother and wife he has to help? Bonnie, that is such an interesting question. And honestly, the law does not preclude people who are in prison from getting their pension. So I see nothing in the law that said you have to be out of prison in order to get your pension. You have to be a free man. So I would have thought that, yeah, that's a very good question. I would have honestly thought that that person would be eligible. I mean, if they meet the other criteria, right? Then what's the issue? They're on the island. They are able to, apply, presumably. I guess they have internet access. They can fill out the form. They can get their ID verified. So what would be stopping them? I don't think that Fidelity or any other pension company can say that, because the law was very, very broad in terms of who is able to apply. And so at the end of the day, I'm not of the opinion that they could be stopped. But isn't that an interesting quandary? I mean, it seems like Fidelity is very much, against anyone getting their money. I mean, they seem to want to put all sorts of roadblocks in the way. Crazy, right? So I'm going to look into that, Bonnie, just to confirm that I do not believe that that should be anything that should prevent someone from getting their money. I'm just going to ask one of our pension people, so just give me a second. They work in pensions, and so of course they're experts. And I will get you an answer here shortly. I just think that the law didn't exclude a whole lot of people. So it just said in terms of if you're on the island, or even if you left the island, you're able to get your money. All right, so so let me just have a few more looks. So Marissa says that should not be unlawful, and how do they become aware of that? This can't be a real thing. # Cayman problems. Yeah, I mean, it's a small place, so I don't know what he's in prison for, but it's entirely possible that they may have seen something in the news or whatever that this person is incarcerated. So my pension source, real-time response, says no, only retirees and people off island before February the 1st are specifically excluded. And this particular company that I'm speaking to this person says that we have actually received a few applications from people in prison and they're processing those applications. So my girl, Bonnie, Fidelity is crazy as usual. I'm not surprised that Fidelity would be trying to refuse to give people their money. So that is not lawful. So Bonnie, if you need me to get in their asses, you let me know and I will more than gladly do it. Because Fidelity is next level. Ridiculous. So there's a little bit of information I might have for you guys this morning about a company who's doing something that's really kind of cool and a much welcomed thing to help consumers. So I'm looking forward to this. All right. So yes, Marissa, they probably saw something in the paper. Who knows? But if it's not lawful, then it's not lawful. Fidelity, get it together, man. You're really not impressing us at all with the things that you're doing. Jake says that shouldn't matter. The law says that you have to be in Cayman. Shouldn't matter if you're in prison or under a rock. Exactly, Jake. Exactly. And this is why just after yesterday, someone said to me, that at the end of the day, yeah, the person saying if they provide all the information, it should not be a problem. But yeah, someone was actually saying to me, is Fidelity going bankrupt? And I said, listen, this has been a rumor that has been in circulation for quite some time, actually. And I hope they're not going bankrupt for the people of this country's sake, because that would not be cool. A lot of people still have their money there, and a lot of people are still trying to get their pension money. But it's things like this that fuel those types of rumors, right? When people hear that Fidelity is not giving people their money and they come up with all sorts of excuses not to do so, people start to wonder why. Why would Fidelity be trying to hold on so hard to my money that I have put into an investment account or an investment fund? And so it does kind of make you wonder. I'm going to tell you straight up that I myself kind of wonder, like, what is up with Fidelity? Are they, really as solvent as they want us to believe? Are they really not having any issues accessing people's funds or money? Because at the end of the day, it seems a little bit hard to believe that really is the case, the way that they're going hard for, we don't want to give you your money. Like, the law says you have to, so why are you making up excuses? This person who works for, another company has suggested that you actually contact and file a complaint with the DLP. And if the paperwork has already been submitted, they should honor the date of all completed documents that were provided. So if the person, Bonnie, has submitted the documentation and then they came back and refused it, the right procedure then is for you to lodge a complaint with the DLP, indicating the date that the person applied and exactly what the issue would be. So yes, I would say let us know if you need any assistance with that. We are also working hard to get some additional information on what is happening at Margaritaville. I think I mentioned to you guys yesterday that we've had a number of concerns brought to our attention about the fact that Margaritaville has not been paying pensions since last year. And employees are very, very concerned, and a number of them have come forward. They've actually been coming forward, but we weren't fully putting it together until someone mentioned something else yesterday again. And I had to go back into the emails to see, to check something, and I did find quite a bit of information. And there was someone who contacted us on WhatsApp that wanted to provide some information as well. Sorry, I've got to put some eye drops in my eye. And that person, oh my gosh, my eyes are just so irritated today. That person actually had said that they wanted to talk to us, but sometimes when you don't just come out and say what the subject is, it's a little bit challenging for us to know how to prioritize that. So I agree with Jake. I agree with Marissa. Indira says, morning, Miss Sandra. Have a blessed day. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. I ran into a lady yesterday. I was down in West Bay. I'm doing a little bit of work, putting out some signage and stuff for one of my other companies. And I got to tell you guys that I don't know if you guys know my affiliation with Roque. So I own Roque. And Roque gives you like streaming options. I'm just going to do a shameless plug, I should say, here now. So if you were overpaying for your TV, folks, there's absolutely no need for you to do that. Contact us. We will talk about, what options you have available. You get this little streaming device here, this little box. People are always surprised at how tiny the box is. You get a super cool remote. You can upgrade to voice remote. And basically, we take care of all of your options in terms of like everything that's on the box. So you don't have to worry about it. It's plug and play and you are good to go. So if you want to find out a bit more about how to save on your ongoing cost every month for your entertainment needs, definitely reach out to us and we're more than happy to assist you with this. We have, if you go on the Roque Facebook page and you go under reviews, you will actually see that we have a 5-star review from over, oh my gosh, I forgot how many reviews we've had, but it's probably well over 70 reviews. So people are just really, really happy. We pride ourselves in providing excellent customer service because that is extremely important to us. And we will get you sorted out. Like for some people, like their challenges that they will find are in place, and we help you to navigate a lot of those challenges and stuff. So nonetheless, I was saying that to say that I was out yesterday putting up some signs around the island, and I went into West Bay to do that. And can I tell you, the mosquitoes were, whoo, hello. They were like, honestly, they were the size of flies, first of all. And not only were they the size of flies, but they were biting hard. And so I was like, I stopped for like 30 seconds, was putting down the sign, and I was like, bam, 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 bam. I was like, what the heck? They were biting me up big time. And I'm sure I'm going to have some little welt marks like show up on me today from where they got a bite out of me. So I wasn't staying outside long, but as I was in that location, I had a lady who stopped me and she's like, hey, Miss Sandy, what's up? I listen to you every single day. And she was like, thank you so much for, everything that you do. And she was telling me that she's actually from the BRAC. And so she was just really happy to see me. So I appreciate the love. I see Cindy is here listening to the conversation. Cindy will know that the day before, I was meeting her in town, and there was someone there who was, I think he got out of the car, Cindy, just to say hi. Like, I don't think that he actually was doing anything else. So he like noticed me and he got out of the car to say hi. It was so nice to meet you. And, so people are just appreciating what we do here on CMR and how we're really trying to look out for people and become, an option for giving people in this country a voice. So when something is wrong, listen, it's wrong. This sounds like, Bonnie, a straight up situation that should not be occurring. So if you have any issues navigating it from here, please let us know. Karen, good morning to you, honey. Odell is here as well. Give me 1 second. I think I missed a message. Cindy says they're sick in the head. Whether you're in jail or not, they should still have access to their funds. Fidelity could never be so bright. Well, apparently they're very bright, Cece. South Marjorie says, good morning. Yes and no. In the long haul, will persons dedicate themselves continuously to do their work while home? Helpers, gardeners, and small restaurant businesses will probably be slower as persons have more time. And so a lot will try and save back as much as they can, my opinion. Marjorie, that is an interesting point that you make. If you are working from home, not only do you save money on things like gas, for your vehicle, but you're more likely to also probably work from home or use a delivery service. I mean, it depends on where you live and what your appetite is, right? So you could potentially save more money not having to eat out because you know how it is when you have to drive from Newland, Savannah, East End, whatever you go to town. It's not like you can drive all the way back home at lunchtime and sit down and have lunch. So yes, that is interesting. If you're working from home, you may have savings in your budget and being able to actually stay home and cook and then just go to the kitchen, sit down, have your meal at the dining table or whatever, catch a little 5 minute, TV time before you go back to your work desk. But as kids go back to school, I mean, I'm a person who has kind of, I guess, the best of both worlds, and that I do have office space available to me. But at the same time, I transitioned well over a year ago to my home office, and I do have most of the things here that I need, including a phone extension that ties into my other location and stuff as well. So I think that we just need to be flexible, and I find that when I work from home, I probably do a little bit better with my diet overall, because I am not out there eating out all the time and grabbing stuff and whatever. So yeah, but helpers, I don't have a helper per se. I have a cleaning lady that comes once a week. And yesterday was actually her day. And I did notice the disruption, and not so much for me in having her around, but for her and me and the rest of the family being around. So into the afternoon, we were kind of like, I think we need to get out of here. We need to give this woman an opportunity to actually get her work done. Because with a 3-year-old kind of running all over the place, it does become a little bit challenging to really, get all that stuff done and allow her to work around us while she's trying to like sweep and clean and whatever. So yeah, we were like, let's pack up, go find something to do for a couple hours, and then that'll give her time to clean the office and get other things done. So Odell says you can exercise POA for certain actions needed in the process. That should alleviate the need for physical presence. Yes. Business licensing, like all these things are now online, folks. So you got to take advantage of, what's available. And let's face it, there was so much congestion on our roads and so many people like wasting time trying to get from point A to point B. Like literally your lunch hour was used up, not even enjoying your lunch hour. You were stuck in traffic for half an hour of that, trying to run from one location to the next. So maybe, again, this model of now transitioning to, teleworking or working remotely from home could also be beneficial. Like if I have an hour for lunch and I'm disciplined at home, I said, okay, I'm going to take my hour at 12:30 to 1:30, and I'm going to not, respond to any emails, because you got to be careful to actually take your time as well. Because there is the danger of overworking because you're like easy access. You get up earlier in the morning, you can work late into the night, your computer's there. So you need to, it's a bit ironic that the employers are saying, oh, you're going to get better work-life balance. But if you're not careful, quite the opposite can happen. You can actually work even more when you're working from home. So set yourself up with specific schedules. So if you're supposed to take a break at 12:30 or whatever, get up and take your breaks. Walk around the house, take a walk up the block, get some fresh air, get away from the computer screen and those types of things. But I was just thinking to myself, even if you take an hour for lunch now, you don't have to be up and down on the road spending 45 minutes or half an hour of that trying to get to a location and then not even able to achieve your goals. You can actually say, you know what, I'm going to take my lunch hour, half an hour out of that, I'm going to take a half an hour nap. So I'm going to go lie down and take a nap, de-stress, whatever. I'm going to catch up on some news, watch some TV, eat, my lunch the next half an hour, and get back to work. So I think there are a lot of wonderful things that can certainly come out of working remotely. So CC says, what about persons overseas, the ones that left for rollover? What about them is the question, is what I would ask. What specifically is the question? In terms of pensions, if they were rolled over, well, there are people who left because of the pandemic, but the law says that as long as you did not leave before February the 1st. So February 1st was actually the cutoff date. So if you didn't leave before that, you're still eligible, regardless of the reason that you left. So there would have been some persons that left for different reasons, and it doesn't matter as long as it was not before February the 1st. You're actually eligible to access your pensions. So Bonnie says, yes, I would appreciate that. Bonnie, message us. 324-1612 is the WhatsApp number. Cece says they wasn't going bankrupt up until government made it possible for us to access our funds. Well, that could be a part of the issue for them. I do not know. She says using people's money, buying big boats and living lavish, they best don't play. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that they're using your money, your pension money, because that would be very unlawful for them to be doing so. Your pension money is supposed to be invested, and they should have, proper records that demonstrate that's actually happening. And of course, we've seen instances before where companies actually, quite ironically, to be honest, where companies have had people steal from their pension fund. So you guys might remember this, but back in the day, there was a pension administrator, someone at Chamber Pensions, who was actually stealing money from the pension fund. And they eventually caught that individual. And of course, now that they know who that person is, or they knew at the time, I think they have been incarcerated and there have been consequences for their behavior. And whatever money, I don't know specifically where he was stealing the money from, if it was actually coming out of what people putting into the pension funds, but that money would have had to have been restored. And the pension administrators would be on the leash for that. So it's, people need to, and one of the interesting things that I remember about that particular situation is evidently this guy was one of the few people, or the only person like in the pension office, which is weird because he was allowed to essentially be there unchecked for a large degree of the time that he was there. And eventually, as with all things like this, you're going to get caught. You can only do so much foolishness for so long before the roost comes home to, what's the saying? The roost comes home to roost, or whatever we call it. So yeah, they eventually caught him and he had to pay the consequences. So Bonnie says that actually his lawyer filed on his behalf, and she checked his account and nothing has been deposited to his account. Now, just to be clear, Bonnie, has nothing been deposited, or have they actually denied his application on the basis that he's in prison? Because those are two very different things. So there have been a lot of people with Fidelity who've been approved, but nothing has been put into their account because Fidelity is just slack and they've missed all of the requisite deadlines. So that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not going to get paid. It just means oh gosh, just reading this about another fraud that fraudsters are up to. So yeah, so it just could mean that he's in the queue like everybody else, waiting on their money, which is slow to come. So Fidelity, they need to see some jail time on a serious note. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't think that what they're doing is right at all. And the people should not have to suffer for them not being organized and not having enough employees. So Fit Jamaican Girl, wagwan. Joining us on YouTube. Thank you so much, honey. How are you? Cece says the GMOs are mating. Cece, Cindy, it did cross my mind, girl. When I was like, these mosquitoes, it did cross my mind that, oh yes, West Bay was the testing ground for the GMO project. And maybe they're a little bit stronger and bigger, flexing some muscles than the average mosquito. Nikki, what's up, my friend? How are you? Cece said, in relation to the security guard, he looked like he saw a celebrity. It is really funny. And I got to tell you, like, I'm totally not used to it. It's kind of weird. But yes, there are people who are treating me like a celebrity. They're always like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to finally meet you." You know, one lady said to me, it was over a month ago. I was at the grocery store and she saw me and she's like, "Oh, are you Sandra?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "You grocery shop?" And I'm like, "All the time." I'm a big grocery shopper. Like I feel like I live in the grocery store because I'm not a person who likes to buy like a month's worth of groceries. I'll buy like enough for a week and then I'm like back in there again because I forgot something. So she's like, "Oh, you do like regular things like grocery shop?" And I'm just like, "Yes." Every single day. I'm just a normal nut like the rest of you. Trust me on that. There's nothing unusual about my life except that I'm here in front of this camera and trying to help you guys out and that sort of thing. But other than that, I'm just an average person. But yeah, Cindy, I was kind of tickled pink by that as well. He was like, "Oh, it's you." And then there was a little boy recently, his grandmother and I used to work together back in the day at Maples. And his grandmother brought him over. He was across the street visiting someone from where I live. And she brought him over and she's like, "Oh, he wants to meet you." He's only like 8 years old. And she's like, "He wants to meet you because he's like, is that really the Sandra from Cayman Mall Road?" And he was like, "Granny, you know her?" It's just like really funny. I'm like, that is too funny, kids. So he came over and he said hi and stuff. He was so cute. Um, so Cece says places are not fully open and the traffic still is terrible in town around the evening times. Yeah, it's not it's not as good as, but imagine what it would be like when everything reopens. I mean, hello, uh, a little crazy indeed. So Raja Fernando says days before yesterday, I went to Fidelity. They closed the door at 12:30 p.m. Customer service lady gave me one contact number. I called them, but no response to my call. Ridiculous. So Cece's just clarifying that her comment was regarding pension. Yeah, so as long as they did not leave before February the 1st for whatever reason, whether it's COVID shutdown, rollover, whatever, they are eligible to get their pension money. One of the interesting things, though, is I've had quite a few people, again, notarizing documents and stuff, who are overseas and have contacted me to notarize their document for them. And of course, we can't do that as a notary because the notary law, which is separate and apart from the pension law, specifically restricts us to notarizing people only located in the Cayman Islands. So I've had to direct them. I even had a guy actually yesterday calling from Mexico. And I've had to direct them to say that unfortunately you have to find someone in your jurisdiction, so Mexico, Honduras, wherever you're at, to actually notarize it for you. And then once they notarize it for you, you're able to apply for your pension just like you would anything else. So Sue says a lot less people here to traffic. Still bad on Monday in town though. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely noticed the increase. Of course, more traffic means more car accidents and so forth. So that is happening, but it's still not anywhere near as much as it would be normally before the lockdown, especially the commute in the evenings coming. I mean, obviously in the mornings we're here on the show, so I'm not getting in that traffic. But yeah, definitely in the evenings, it remains so far that I've been in 5 o'clock traffic and it's flowing really, really fast. There's no bumper to bumper situation. There's more on the road, obviously, but it's nowhere near what it would normally be. So South Marjorie says, even in the daytime, you wonder how so many vehicles are up and about, still staying positive, hoping this virus doesn't go anywhere with summer schools opening. Now, speaking of that, Marjorie, our numbers have continued to trend very, very well. So a lot of days we're just having like maybe one positive. A lot of times we're having no positive test results at all. So I think we're at 201. I'm going to just double check this as of yesterday. So that's actually really, really good. And I think we need to continue to be vigilant. One of the big things is about the wearing of masks. Now, I want to advise you guys, because I think a lot of people kind of miss this point about the wearing of masks. You don't have to wear a mask if you're like doing something like exercising. You don't have to wear a mask if you are able to keep your social distance. So if you're in a situation where you're outside, like say you're at Cayman Bay, and you're able to stay at least 6 feet from other people, the law actually doesn't require you to wear a mask in those situations. I always take my mask with me because sometimes it's someone might want to come and speak to me, so I know that they're going to be breaching that 6 foot, social distancing space. So yes, I'll have it with me, but it's not that you have to have it on 24/7. And I was actually speaking to my physiotherapist a couple of days about this, and she was saying that the blue ones that you get that are like disposable, or whatever, you can use those for up to like 4 hours is what they recommend at a time. But after a while, like talking through them and stuff, because of the material they're made out of as well, they do get moisture on them, and they will start to like deteriorate and get germy and stuff like that. So you want to make sure you're actually discarding these masks after some usage and just throwing them away. The reusable cloth ones, of course, make sure that you're washing them. It doesn't make any sense for you to, have on a mask that's potentially taking on a lot of stuff on the outside, and then you are, touching that and not washing it and disinfecting it on a regular basis. So throw that in the wash, hand wash them, and make sure that they stay clean. The other thing is the paper ones. The blue is supposed to be on the outside. This is something I learned the other day because someone gave me one. I temporarily had it on. And the person said to me, "You're actually wearing it backwards." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" She said, "Yeah, because the blue is like the filter side. That is supposed to be on the outside of the mask because that filters in, any kind of thing that you're getting. So you got to know how to wear these things properly." So Jenna says some workplaces are making it mandatory to come back into the office. This should have been the time that they revisit the process. I agree. Many people working from home would alleviate traffic, and it would assist working parents as well. Yeah, Jenna, I'm surprised to hear that is the logic that businesses in Cayman are actually using, because it makes no sense, except that they want to be able to micromanage people, which happens a lot in this jurisdiction. And so they feel like the only way to micromanage you is to, sit down and be breathing down your neck. And trust me when I tell you, there are far other better ways of micromanaging someone. Like if you give someone access to your systems, your office systems, whatever, you can actually monitor how much of that time they are online for. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, get with the technology, folks. It's not brain surgery here. It is very, very easy to do, actually. But it requires your IT people to put systems in place and to have a little bit of technical knowledge, which shouldn't be too hard if they're in that industry. Cece says the company is to blame because how can a person that already has a record for stealing be hired over young, talented, honest, motivated Caymanian seeking employment? I think I missed something. Oh, about the person who stole from pension. Well, I think there's a couple of things. They were probably looking for someone in pension or some sort of administrator experience to handle a pension fund because they were the pension manager. So it wasn't like a low-level job that just a high school leaver could have taken up. And I'm pretty sure that they had no record of theft before that. So, it's really one of those things when someone steals from a company. We've had years ago a theft in one of my companies when we were located in West Bay. And I'm sad to say that the person who did that was a young, talented, up until that point, supposedly honest, motivated. She was very motivated. She's motivated with those sticky fingers of hers to, work. And she actually is not a bad worker at all. And many years later, paths cross again in the professional environment. And she loves to get jobs in accounts where she can have access to people's money. She's studying accounting. Now, what I would have loved to have known as an employer is that when she left the Westin back then, they had actually let her go for missing money and for theft. And the job before that, it was the same thing. A lot of these companies, especially when the persons are Caymanians, they can't cancel work permit for Caymanians. So they are letting them go and allowing them to go on to other people as a liability because they have sticky fingers and they're stealing. And nobody seems to be the wiser and nobody seems to know. If Mall Road was around back then, trust me, she would be outed. But yeah, she had stolen not just from us, but from other people. And then went on a shopping spree, paying her rent, which was she was behind in her rent. Back in the day, went to Computer Warehouse or whatever it was called there. Um, David Shibley owned it. Computer, what were they called back in the day? The Computer Cafe and whatever. So she bought an iPad and bought this and bought that. And it was just ridiculous. And then the worst part of it all is she actually ended up getting off when the case went to court. And, the defense attorney was able to create doubt in the minds of the jury and she walked. So no consequences. And she is a Caymanian, young, talented, blah, blah, blah. And she has a child. And, many years later, someone called me for a job reference. I had to say to them, honestly, listen, I'm not saying that she's not a good worker. She actually is a really decent worker. However, she seems to have a problem with things that are not hers, taking them, theft. And so what I would suggest, and again, it was an accounting position. I said, listen, if she's just doing your paperwork, she's just in QuickBooks making entries and whatever, and she has no access to cash or no way of getting access to your cash, then give the girl an opportunity. She's a mother, despite the fact that she's also a thief. But give her a chance. But if you have her working with money, I would recommend that you not hire her because she is going to be a serious liability. And I think after that, she started to not even put us as a reference on her resume because we were just brutally honest. Now, the thing about that is she had to have gaps in her resume because there were so many other companies like the Westin where she had worked for a number of years and she had also stolen from them. So a thief is a thief is a thief, just like a liar. It matters not where you are or who you are. These people are just dishonest and they are able to do these things and to get away with them. So, Caymanians steal too, honey. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but some Caymanians are the most dishonest people in the world. Like they can't understand that does not belong to you. Karen says, I work better at home, less idle chatting with coworkers and their office disruptions. I log in early and I log out late. Yes, and there's no, what do they call it? Office water cooler space where you go to get your water and you end up standing there wasting time talking to people and stuff like that, right? So C says, look at the girl on trial for stealing. He got another job and stole again. Businesses always checking in the background of people except who they should do background checks on. Yeah. So unfortunately, I think that a lot of businesses don't always know where to go and that sort of thing. So yes, they are indeed getting caught up in this situation with theft. So I'm so happy to tell you guys, I can't let the cat out of the bag yet, but I'm working on an exciting new project that I'm really tickled pink about. And I'm just like seriously excited that is going to be rolled out here in due course. We're doing some testing on the systems. And then hopefully in the next week or two, I'm going to be able to tell you guys all about it. And it's something for consumers. It's going to be free to use and so on. So that should be really good. I'm just thinking of it because I see some messages coming in here from my web guy and some of the things that he is actually doing in relation to that project. So I'm excited. It's good to it is definitely good to do something new and exciting and different and, just get your stuff done. So the flu clinics in the Cayman Islands are going to close on Saturday. That was an article, in case you missed it, that we did publish. So flu season, we're kind of gearing down now. Obviously, summer's here, so there tends to be less people kind of getting sick in the summer months anyway. So the government has announced that it will be closing the flu clinics. And you guys remember that flu clinics were actually specifically opened in order to accommodate the increase in not just potential coronavirus cases, but also just the general flu. And so you could go there and, see a physician in relation to your flu-like symptoms. The other interesting thing that happened yesterday is obviously the CPR group lost their case, their appeal. It was actually not their appeal; it was the government's appeal, in fact. But they lost the appeal for against their win at the Grand Court level. The judge basically said, at the end of the day, that particular judge overreached. However, as someone rightfully pointed out last night, he did not say that generally speaking, that the courts couldn't have done that. It's just in that particular situation, they found that this judge had overreached. So they were wondering, since Alden's argument was that he did not want the courts to feel like they had some kind of power over the Legislative Assembly, would it then be the case that he's going to appeal this win? And I kind of chuckled because I'm like, well, I doubt that, but I do take on the point. So let me just read it to you exactly how the person said it, because I think it makes more sense that way. So the person said, presumably, Premier Alden McLaughlin will be appealing since the court upheld the judge's power to squash laws in such cases. They found it wasn't necessary in this particular instance, since this judicial overreach was all Alden was worried about. He surely won't be able to let the matter rest now, ? It's hard to reconcile the statement with paragraph 107 of today's ruling, which says basically, following the court's decision, the Premier's office issued a statement in which Alden McLaughlin said the government's decision to go forward with the appeal at this time was a matter of principle. Judges should not have the right to overturn policies that have been made by elected officials as they see fit, which in fact isn't really what the courts said. So the question then becomes, will Alden be seeking to get a firmer position in law than what he has right now? So it is an interesting point, and I will send the message to his communications manager, Ms. Julie Hutton, and ask her the question. Yeah. Someone's at the office, Alexa just said to me. So with all this modern day technology that we have, Alexa tells you when someone's at the office so that you can have a word with them. Okay, so what else is going on? Our briefing this afternoon, folks, so make sure you tune in for that. We're kind of winding down where we're only having them once per week. Kids are getting ready for summer camps. It'll be interesting to see how many of you permit your children to go out to the summer camp environments. Like we said yesterday, all hell has broken loose in the United States of America with COVID. Unfortunately, it's not a good situation. Not at all. And so we will have to keep an eye on that. The numbers are increasing. Florida had its biggest day of over 10,000 cases in a single day. In addition to that, California has increased in cases. Like for 6 consecutive days, the US had set new records. Like individual states were setting new records, and then just overall. And in fact, overall, they had over 50,000 cases. So can you imagine that? Over 50,000 new cases in a single day in the United States of America. And that is definitely a record. And of course, Dr. Fauci has warned that they are possibly looking at reaching that 100,000 mark. So he's saying that there's a very good likelihood of that doubling. Oh yeah, so kind of crazy. let me just see what is going on here. So listen, there was something that we shared on our website last night. We're hoping to at some point get the CMEA, the Cayman Islands Music and Entertainment Association, I think it's what it's called, President Michael Wilkes on the show. There's been a lot of contention within that organization. Notch, I'm trying to remember his proper name now, but you guys know who I mean, right? Notch, the artist, musician. He has been president of the organization for quite some time. And as a result of him being president for quite some time, I think it has created some issues. For years, we've actually heard of complaints and issues from musicians and others involved in the organization who basically said that he was running it as though it was his own private organization. And so they had some concerns with that. And, what did that mean? So it meant all sorts of issues and concerns for them. So those complaints continued into 2019, 2020, and some months back, there was something with him and a fundraiser. I think we did an article on that where the committee was saying that this was not a committee decision. The committee didn't get together and said, yes, let's host this fundraiser. He was just doing it on his own. So they're accusing him of running essentially a one-man show or one-man organization. And remember now that these nonprofit organizations get funded oftentimes by government in this case. So they do get, if they need like an office or whatever, they get funding from government. And so even sometimes the presidents of these organizations are able to get a salary or some sort of stipend from the Cayman Islands government to do the things that they do, despite the fact that it is considered a nonprofit organization. So there were concerns that he was basically running a one-man operation. The board was like, what's the purpose of having a board if, at the end of the day, he is going to be superseding the board and kind of doing whatever the heck he wants in any event. So they actually had an election and he was removed. And I think he's been president for like a really long time. So he was removed as president, but then there was some contentions about that, about whether or not he claims that he was not properly removed and there wasn't sufficient notice given, and the board members and the executive have said no, that they have actually done the proper thing. So they have followed the Constitution that rules how they operate. And so I think the problem now is he still sees himself as president of the organization, and other people do not. So there's like a new board and they're doing their thing, and they've issued a press release saying, here's a new board, here's a new president, the new executive, and so on. And so I don't know what to make of it. We're going to invite Michael Wilkes on the show one day, and he's the newly elected president of the Cayman Islands Music Association. And he will explain to us kind of what's going on. But yesterday he did a bit of a statement, and we did share that on our platform, where basically he was saying, listen, there are some serious concerns even about the government stipend for musicians. We heard the Minister of Health, have this query, and he kind of supported, not have the query, sorry, but he supported musicians getting some sort of a stipend. And so there was some sort of an application process apparently, but it seems based on what Michael has said that people were excluded from the application process for the stipend who were not Caymanians. And, Michael has an issue with that because he's saying in the music business, they are a very sort of tight-knit community in many respects. And and so he was a bit surprised at some of the criteria that were put in place in relation to that. Interesting. Okay, so someone has just sent me an email Actually, they sent it at 6:28 this morning, but I'm just saying it about the government emailing them, and they're trying to find out if this is a legit email. So speaking of stipends, this kind of goes in line with this whole thing. But before we get into it, I want you guys to listen to what Michael had to say. And then we're going to talk about that a little bit. And then I'm going to look at this about the tourism stipend and see what you guys think about this email that I've just received. So you've got to be so careful when you get emails and messages from people because you don't always know who to trust, right? So let us have a moment, take in what Michael had to say. We did stream this last night. So in case you missed it, I wanted to kind of bring up the conversation a little bit this morning as well. You know, Michael's a Caymanian, Notch is a Caymanian. It's unfortunate that this situation is actually happening between two Caymanian men. But at the end of the day, Michael's saying that, listen, he's standing on a matter of principle of what's right and what's wrong. And that's not going to change. And so at the end of the day, let's hear what he has to say, and then we can have a discussion on it.
At this point, people are probably wondering, who is Michael Wilkes anyway? Well, let me tell you who Michael Wilkes is. I am a proud father of 3 children. And how can I tell them to always live their life with integrity and always do the right thing no matter what the cost when I don't lead by example? I want them to be proud of me. That's why I do what I do. I have something to get off my chest about this whole music sector stipend fiasco. I mean, I understand, I get it. There was just so much money to go around. But the fact that you gave some people hope by making everyone, Caymanians and work permit holders alike, apply was wrong. I mean, although I have my doubts about the application approval process, I mean, I can't change the minds and hearts of these people. I only know what's in my heart, and my heart is telling me that we can do better. In the music sector, we are all brothers and sisters, and we all look out for each other. These people we are denying are the same people who contribute to the Music Association year after year. Every time we ask them to give their time for charity events, they show up and support without hesitation. This is how we treat them. So they're good enough to help us raise money for our ailing music veterans, but they're not good enough to get help when they need it to. These are the people who play alongside us to make us better musicians. This is how we treat them? It can't be. I don't know how it's done in other sectors, but that's not how we live in the music fraternity. We all look out for each other. We all support each other. And where are we when they need us the most? This is not who we are. And this is certainly not how I want my kids to grow up to be. We have to do better. The spirit and the soul of this country depends on it. Did I need the money? Of course. But I need my sleep much more. Doing the right thing is way more important. Looking out for my brothers and sisters is way more important. That's why I've decided to share my stipend. I haven't decided who yet, but it won't be hard to find someone who needs it more than me.
So, wow. So there seems to be some issue with the fact that, again, there's this application process and, basically Michael is questioning the validity and intent of the application process and the fact that I guess musicians were told that they would be eligible to apply to get this stipend, and lo and behold, now people are excluded because they are not Caymanians, and only Cayman musicians are benefiting. So Michael has indicated that he will be sharing his stipend. He's going to pick, 1 or 2 or whatever. I don't think it was a whole lot of money, but he'll be picking some persons to share his stipend with. And I applaud Michael for that, regardless of whatever other drama or whatever's going on. This is a very principled thing to do. And I think that it sends a very clear message. There was an actual editorial submitted by Michael as well earlier in the week, where he alleged that people were having deductions made from their pension fund. From their music stipend for membership into an organization, and he essentially said that this was wrong and it should not be happening. So if you guys have not had an opportunity to read that editorial as yet, I would encourage you to do so. And by the way, if you are interested in submitting an editorial, one of the things that we've done to make it so easy, just like Elvis, every single week Elvis, sends through a video vlog editorial, and yeah, you can do that by let me just see 1 second here. You can do that by video, and it means that life is just so much easier. Let me just, sorry. So yeah, everybody's podcasting right now, and you can sit down in front of your phone, your camera, whatever, take an image, take a video, express yourself, because a lot of people, I think, find it easier to express themselves on video as opposed to like sitting down and typing up a letter, and you may not have access to a typewriter or whatever. So there are options available to you, and then we kind of put it together a little bit, and we will share it as an editorial piece, an editorial vlog. So it's a video editorial. So Michael did share a letter to the editor where essentially he said that, it is his duty to address rumors circulating that the music sector stipend, which was distributed a few weeks ago, and he understands that persons have entered into agreements with Mr. Eric Smith regarding mandatory membership fees being deducted from the stipend proceeds. And he felt that that was wrong. And so I want you guys to certainly read up on that so that you can become aware of what's happening within this organization. If you're not a musician, you might be sitting here thinking, why do I care? This isn't my fight. This isn't my business. But as I always say, 6 degrees of separation. No one is really that far off from being involved in any sort of organizations. And the bottom line is if we allow it to happen in one organization, what's to stop it from happening in other organizations as well? And it's just a matter of principle, and it's a matter of right versus wrong. I mean, it's simple to me that we should all be trying to do the right thing as much as possible. So another, speaking of doing the right thing and another stipend, someone did send through this email this morning, which is basically saying that it's from the department, or the Department, yes, of Tourism, and they're questioning the legitimacy of the email, because they basically said, we need some information from you. So it says the Cayman Islands Ministry and Department of Tourism are requesting that you access the link below to securely provide your banking details for payment of the displaced tourism employee stipend. The email is sent to verified registrants only and should not be shared, as the link is specific to the verified applicant. Persons are asked to complete and submit the form as quickly as possible with accurate information to expedite the payment process. The deadline for submission is 12 noon on July the 7th, 2020. And then it says, click here for banking information requests, and a call center has been established to assist persons with queries pertaining to the required banking details form. And it tells you the hours of operation and the phone number. Now, here's the thing, why this person thinks that this looks suspicious is, we're always being told, don't click on links, don't do this, don't do that. And so when you get a message like this, you think, is this legit? Is this real? This is where the Ministry of Tourism and the Department of Tourism would have been best advised to notify the public that this was actually going to be happening. Send out a press release, confirm to people that this is legit, and people would not be afraid to then click on it. Now, here's why I think it's legit. And I'm going to tell you, some of the things that you can look for in situations like this. When I actually look at the link, and there is a way to not necessarily click on the link, but you can still hover over it and it will give you, depending on, I use Outlook, so I don't know if it's the same for Gmail or other things, but I can actually see the URL of the link without having to click on it. Because normally if it's some kind of phishing, scam or whatever, and you click on it, then it's too late. You've gotten yourself in trouble because of that. Yes. So anyway, I see some person's messaging and trying to call, but yeah. So I do see that when I hover over the link, that the link actually is visit CaymanIslands.com. And then it says CMS modules, stroke newsletter, stroke, so it tells you where that page is. And that page is tied in to the tourism page where people actually applied. So that's one of the reasons why I do believe that it's legit. And the fact that they also give local phone numbers, numerous phone numbers here for people to be able to follow up, I think is also a good indication. And listen, if you receive this email because you applied, then that sounds like a legit situation. If you're receiving this and you haven't applied, then I would be like, I haven't applied for this. So let us just call one of the numbers to verify. I don't know if they're up and working yet, but it's almost 9 o'clock in the morning, right? So they should be up and working. So let us just give them a call and let's just verify that this is legit. So 526-1252. And we just want to make sure that nobody's about to get scammed. And then if it's legit, we're actually going to put it on their website.
The voicemail box.
So that goes to voicemail. Let's try another one because there are a few of them listed. So there's a 526-1254. Let's see if anybody's working yet. This one's ringing. So we're going to see if this is real. Odette says, I got it too. Will anyone be answering the phone?
Hello, good morning, Shamika, Cayman Islands Department of Tourism.
Hi, Shamika. Good morning. This is Sandra. How are you?
Hi, Sandra. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So someone contacted me about an email that they received from DOT about clicking on a link to provide their banking details for the tourism stipend. We're just trying to verify that this is a legit email, and it did provide this phone number as well as others as a point of contact, so people can feel safe clicking on that link.
Yes, it is an accurate email.
Okay, all right, no problem. Yeah, because people had concerns about whether it was legit or not. So
yes, it is.
Okay, yes. Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, bye-bye. All right, so we can respond to this individual. And there you go, easy as pie. You can click on the link, those of you. Now they're asking for payment details. They haven't said yet. I think they're still going through the verification process this first week, is what a previous message had said. So we don't know if when these payouts will happen, or even have they even said how much? Odette, have you heard how much they're going to be giving you guys? Is there any indication of that? Is it like the same amount for everyone? There's bits and pieces of information that is missing from this whole process. So hopefully during today's prep briefing, that will be additional information that will become available to the wider public. So yes, folks, if you've gotten this email, fear not, it's a legit email. You can safely click on it and they will work on getting you your money. So again, if you miss the boat, then you missed the boat. But yes, hopefully you didn't miss the boat. All right, good folks. Let me just see what else we've got going on here by way of news. So again, some of you will know that earlier in the week, I think it was on Monday, that Mr. Ezra Miller's mom passed away. We were extending our condolences on Monday to him and his family. We were not 100% sure. I think we had her confused with another Mary Miller. And so now there's been a beautiful photo provided, and boy, does Ezra look like her, right? He totally looks like her. You can definitely see, and even his sisters and stuff, like you can see the strong family resemblance. So there's Miss Mary. And again, we just wanted to extend our condolences to the entire family for the loss of, I'm sure, a wonderful mother and grandmother, and maybe even a great grandmother, aunt, and sister, and everything. So again, condolences to her. Let me just see your questions. $1,000 a month for 3 months. Okay, Odette, thank you. So that seems to be kind of the general thing that, oh yes, I knew that. What am I talking about? I did know that, $1,000 for 3 months, yes. So it helps, it's not gonna replace your salary. I mean, I'm sure most of you were making more than $1,000 a month, but it's better than $0 a month. And so I think you take things in stride like this. Now, listen, we do have some gift certificates. I think I mentioned this before, courtesy of Mr. Odell Suarez. They are Foster's gift cards for $50. And we want to make sure that people who are in need of assistance actually get the remaining gift certificates. We did a few, which we gave out on Tuesday for celebrating our anniversary. But, there are people who are truly in need of these. So if you know of anyone who doesn't have enough money to go grocery shopping with, or could use some assistance, they're not already getting assistance from government, because some people are trying to double dip even in a time like this. So they are getting assistance from NAU. They're getting assistance from Meals on Wheels. They're getting assistance from all these other organizations, and they are still trying to double dip. So in that regard, I would suggest that, you've got to be fair to people. We're helping people out where we can, but even people who are volunteering and who are making donations and who are helping people out, let's not be greedy is the bottom line. Everyone is in need. And so at the end of the day, share and share like, maybe if you get a little bit of something, somebody else gets a little bit of something, that kind of help goes around and is beneficial to everyone. So if you know of anyone who's in need, who's not already getting assistance, please contact me directly here on CMR. We've got the number scrolling across the screen for the WhatsApp contact and how to get them one of these gift certificates to Foster's. It's $50, and hey, $50 if you know how to make it stretch at Foster's can go a long ways. So again, this is local businessman Odell. I'm looking at Odette Whitaker and thinking Odell Suarez, who is giving back to the community in a way that he can. So of course, you guys remember that Odell was on the program with us a couple of days ago as well. And Odell was talking about the fact that he is helping small business owners navigate the waters of applying for the government grant. And so, of course, government is giving you up to $3,000 grant for your micro or small businesses to kind of help you again during the COVID times. And Odell is familiar with the process. He's already submitted a number of applications, and he knows how to do all of those things. And so, yeah, you can simply contact him, and he'll be happy to assist you with that and get all the documentation together. And he puts it together professionally for you, types out the form, et cetera, just to ensure that it is processed as quickly and as professionally as possible. Yeah. All right, folks. So we're going to be wrapping things up here in about 15 minutes or so. I'm trying to wait to find out. Like I said, I've got some news, but you guys know, sometimes I got to wait until we can share. Trying to get some of the details here. So we gotta tread carefully as they're ready to make this announcement. with some of the details. So there's something big that's happening that I think is going to be super beneficial to a lot of consumers. And I think this is good. This is good when companies are stepping it up and doing what they got to do. So yeah, I'm excited about this bit of information because I think it's something that's going to be really good for consumers. And why not? Right? Okay, so there is that. And just checking our news feeds to see what else is breaking and is happening in this neck of the woods, in the Caribbean in particular. There's a guy, we're going to be putting up a story later. So this person just replied back and they said, thanks for letting me know. Can't be too careful now. You are a rock star. Thank you, my dear. Yes, and you cannot be too careful. Scammers are everywhere, folks. And as a matter of fact, just this morning, I saw something come in from, I think it was the New York Times or something on my phone about scammers and how, man, they are seeking or trying to take advantage of everyone. So let me just try to see if I can pull up the story again. It said that unemployment scammers, this is in the New York Times. So unemployment scammers are working extra hard during COVID-19 to separate you from your money. So they're trying to separate the government from their money. And listen, defrauding the government, everybody's like, well, the government has money. Yeah, but defrauding the government means that ultimately the people will pay. The government doesn't have, where do you think government gets money from? They get it from us. So whether it's direct taxation, indirect taxation, duties, whatever you want to call it, government is able to function and operate because of we, the people, paying into government. So even when you defraud government, when you are taking from NAU when you don't need to, when you're refusing to get a job, you're not defrauding anyone but your own damn self. But people like that don't care because they're like, well, I'm not going to work. I'm never going to have a business. I'm never going to pay a single licensing fee or whatever. But they don't see the bigger picture of how we all suffer because of it. And that's the reason why to license your car, it's X amount of money. That's the reason why the fuel factor, which is then passed on to you, is X amount of dollars. And you see that in your CUC bill. So whether you recognize it or not, you do actually see the trickle-down effect of people who try to take advantage of government. And so it's very, very sad, that people try to do this because it only hurts the people in the end, right? So this one is out of the US. It says fraudulent jobless claims slow relief to the truly desperate. So hundreds of millions of dollars went to bogus applications, okay, triggering long reviews for others as scammers hide in a torrent of benefit requests. So basically, they're saying that this lady, Alexandria Preston, had to leave her job as a medical assistant to care for her 2 children during the pandemic. And she didn't encounter endless delays like so many others trying to get unemployment benefits. But 3 weeks later, the payments stopped coming in. Now listen to this. Then her account was canceled entirely, forcing her to dip into her savings that she had set aside for dental work for her 12-year-old daughter who has cystic fibrosis. And Preston claims that she'd been flagged with the date 99999, an indication that it was being reviewed for identity fraud, a vexing problem for an already strained unemployment system that has delayed payments to hundreds of thousands of jobless people. And she basically said it was 2 weeks of not knowing anything and not getting any answers. So she lives in Maine, and she says more than 40, this article says more than 40 million workers have filed for unemployment benefits since the early days of the coronavirus pandemic. And over 7 times that number of requests, that was over 7 times the number of requests in all of 2019. So this clearly demonstrates and shows the impact of the coronavirus situation on jobless claims. People are out of work, but because the fraudsters are out there with stolen IDs or whatever it is that they do, working extra hard to separate the government from some good hard-earned money. What that means now is government is slowing down the process, and they are having to go through extra verification steps. And in this particular case, they have actually canceled her particular account, her payment, pending this fraudulent investigation situation. And that's hard. She's got a special needs child. She's having to dip into her savings just to survive. And it says here that the fraudsters have been able to hide in the flood of data. Says this World Privacy Forum. It's a perfect storm for identity fraud. Anyone who's experienced a major breach in the past 3 or 4 years could fall victim to this. The coronavirus has made the unemployment system, which is administered by the states, an attractive target in other ways too. The CARES Act relief program added an extra $600 a week to successful claims and expanded eligibility to self-employed and similar workers who are not subject to the same employment verification that typically apply. Having your application flagged for review doesn't necessarily mean someone else has tried to pose as you. It just means that your state thought it warranted further inspection. And that's because the fraudulent claims are on the increase. So fraudulent claims have forced states to dial up their scrutiny, and deploy systems that mark potentially suspicious claims. And those reviews take time. So she was originally told that her review of her account would delay payments for almost 72 hours, but that wasn't even close. They're quoting her saying, I had called hundreds of times every day for the following week and still haven't gotten anything. Her daughter has been completely isolated during the pandemic, obviously, because she's high risk. And the Maine Labor Department has said that in a Facebook post that claimants should email their identification, which makes her nervous because the officials have warned against that exact same thing. So once she did that, though, her payments resumed a week later. So, she went 2 weeks without the assistance, no job, no nothing. And of course, that's got to be very, very hard. So it says that improper payments nationwide could cost up to $26 billion this year, largely because of fraud, according to congressional testimony. And of course, just last week, we were saying how the Trump administration has already paid out $1.4 billion to dead people. And that was their mistake. They had some system in place where they were simply not verifying certain things, and the people are deceased and they're still sending them a check and sending them payments. And that's $1.4 billion that could be helping legit people like this young lady, Mrs. Preston, who really need the money. So okay, let me just. All right, so we have a couple questions here or comments. So Melinda says that her DOT email actually went to her junk mail folder. Thank you to the caller or those concerned who called in for you to check it out. So that's a good idea, folks, to make sure that you check your junk mail folder because that could be where it's going. Sue says government gave no help to retired Caymanians to help towards their CUC bills. Nothing, only be means tested for NAU. Sorry, those forms are ridiculous. And of course, the forms are ridiculous, Sue, because so many people have been taking advantage of NAU over the years. And everyone in the community has been saying, why is it the case that, we continue to pump millions of dollars into NAU when by and large, a lot of us are thinking that these people are often able-bodied individuals who are capable of working, who should be working, and they're not doing so. And that means that that is money, again, that could be utilized to help other people in the community that's being pumped into NAU recipients who don't always meet the criteria. And, as a result of that, money is being wasted that could be going into education and other social programs. It's always one of those things where the good suffer for the bad. You got those couple rotten apples in the bunch. And, the couple of rotten apples in a bunch, just like plums. I was having some plums the other day, and one of the plums had burst in a bag that someone had given me. And the person said to me, make sure that you take out that busted plum, because that one now that is bad will mess up the rest of your batch. And that's the same thing with bad apples, and figuratively and literally speaking. They mess up the system for everybody else who's in need and who's trying to get help. So, yes, Sue, I think that seniors should have been given some sort of priority assistance. I think that would have been nice to have heard that was the case. But I think that, again, the government doesn't have all of the available resources that we may like to think that they have. They don't have the kind of money. Everybody's like, oh, but they said they've got a surplus. Well, that surplus will be depleted very, very quickly. And we're nowhere near out of the woods in terms of this coronavirus situation, folks. It's going to be a long haul before we get there. So largely in part because the US continues to hit daily records in virus cases. So again, 6th time in 9 days as Americans are preparing to celebrate July the 4th weekend, which is a Saturday. And that's never a good thing because July 4th, barbecues, parties, the whole 9 yards. I was reading an article yesterday about a gentleman who was saying that he had gone to like a party or something and he contacted coronavirus. And 2 days prior, he was saying how he was really, he was really sad that he'd not taken the situation a little bit more seriously because he could have avoided getting the coronavirus. And the irony of that is he actually lost his life 2 days after making that statement. So it's nothing to joke about. I find that in Cayman, I do believe that, people are like, open up the government and, let's get back to work. Let's do this. People are open up the borders. Yes, we're going to be taking a chance. People, you have no clue. Honestly, you have no clue what you're asking for. And it's because we have been very, very fortunate in this country to not have, any more deaths than we have had. We've been very, very fortunate to not have, our numbers have flattened by and large. And that is certainly a good thing. Here's another couple in Texas who were married for 53 years. They died within minutes of each other holding hands after they both contacted coronavirus. They both tested positive. Of course, at their age, they would have had underlying conditions. But they told their children that they were ready to die together. And so they both passed away 50 minutes apart while holding hands. Isn't that just amazing? And it's stories like that that really do touch your heart. And it's tough, So as children, imagine losing both of your parents at the exact same time, pretty much, and having to bury two people and having to mourn both a father and a mother. But that has happened. This isn't the first case where I've heard of that happening, where a couple that has been married for a number of years both succumbed to the coronavirus pretty much together. So super sad. But yes, people are discovering in the US the error of their ways and they are regretting it. And so that's a sad situation. Yeah, and this young man was saying that, you know, he had regretted going out to this party, and once again, it cost him his life. So don't joke around with this thing, folks. It's not funny. It's nothing to take lightly. It remains very much an area of concern, and we should continue to be as vigilant as possible. All right, folks, it is almost 9:15. I was just trying to see if there's anything else on the news feed that we needed to mention. A couple birthday greetings to Kirsten this week and some others. I think that's it. So we've got a few things that are going to be posted here on the website in terms of Meals on Wheels. Someone said they're trying to reach DOT. I'm a PR holder, but didn't get an email from them. So a few people are emailing about that. So we'll see how we can assist you with those queries. Yes, just send them in, and we'll get a response for you as quickly as we can. All right, good folks, that's it. We are gonna call it a wrap. I know I've got a physio appointment this morning that I need to make my way to. I trust that the rest of you will have a safe weekend. Let's be careful on our roads now that we're back to normal. So Sue says, so no big news today, Miss Sandra. Got to wait till Monday. Yeah, I mean, nothing extraordinarily big that I can see. Sarah says, that's why I keep telling people to save their pensions. Supermarket shelves and Kirk's looking empty each time I go there. I don't know. I haven't been to Kirk's in a while. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Marion says, I'm sorry, but the testing here in Cayman is false because the number of tests conducted are not the number of individuals being tested. Someone else had inquired about that, whether those were unique individuals or if that included like retesting and stuff. So I'm actually going to send that question through to Dr. Lee to answer that question. As you guys know, we're not invited to the press briefing, so we can't actually answer it or ask it, my apologies, during a press briefing. But I will email him directly and see if we can get a response to that. And then I will let you guys know. I think that's fair. What is his name again? John Lee, right? I should have him on email because I know I've emailed him before. So that's why it's important to keep your emails, folks. Always keep your emails. Sometimes you want to clear out your emails, and you know what you do? You back them up, archive them in a safe location so that you can have access to them should anything happen or become a question or whatever, because Murphy's Law, a year later, somebody comes back and said, oh, but you said this, this, and this. And you can go, let me verify what I actually said. All right, good folks. I think that's it. Yes. Melinda says the DOT is asking for electoral districts. Interesting. So is that when you're actually submitting your bank account details? I mean, electoral districts. That is interesting. As opposed to just saying, okay, I'm in Bordentown. They want to know, are you Bordentown West or are you Bordentown East? What would be the reason for that degree of information? We will ask Melinda, because it is an interesting point. It's an interesting question. And obviously they are collecting data. They're doing data mining through this process. So yes, I will make some more phone calls and see who's the appropriate person to inquire about that. Interesting. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Melinda. These are things that, hey, we don't know if people don't tell us, because I am not in the tourism sector, so obviously I would not have applied for this stipend. And so I don't see what's going on behind the scenes or what information is being requested. So we will certainly inquire about that and see what additional information that we can obtain on why that is. So thank you, Melinda. I appreciate you giving us that information. All right, folks. So yes, again, there are a couple of things that I am working on personally to try to get you guys some additional information on. So next week we should have those details available so that we know what's going on. Again, Florida reports over 10,000 new virus cases in a single day. This is very, very concerning for us. A lot of our kids go to school in Florida, and the second we reopen our borders, I'm sure people will be coming back from Florida. And even now, when we do emergency evacuation flights, we're doing them to Miami. And I don't know how this is working during COVID. You know, do our staff actually get off the plane, or are they staying on the plane? They don't have to go through customs, immigration, and turn right back around. Are they permitted to just stay on the plane and come back because it is an emergency evacuation flight? I certainly hope it's the latter, given what's happening in Florida. I mean, there's a map of Florida, of the US, and you can see where the cases are concentrated. It is really quite amazing to see that Florida and that entire, like Florida, going straight up the coast, New York, I mean, those are the hot spots. I'm going to show you this map here before we call it a day. But these are the hot spots of infections. Look at this map. Look at that. Florida is covered in red. And then look at up the coast all the way up to New York. Pretty crazy, right? Really, really unbelievable. So yeah, that red is the reported cases. So that certainly puts things in perspective. And I've just linked the article there in case you're interested in reading that a bit more. Okay, good folks. Good morning, Perla. Good morning, Sophia. The show is over. That's all the time that we've got today. I thank you so much, as usual, for tuning in and making this. We're like the #1 podcast here in the Cayman Islands, certainly on social media. Everyone's tuned in, everyone's listening. So we appreciate your continued support. Enjoy your weekend. Please be safe. Be cautious if you're going out on the roads. And that's the best advice I can give you. And enjoy it. Go out, go to the beach. Keep social distancing, wear your mask if you can't maintain that 6 feet apart, and keep an eye out on your kids and just be extra safe.
Miracle Brokers is back. That's right. We're fully reopened and back to work. Our agents are here to serve you with all of your packing and shipping needs. Need to move? Don't worry. Give us a call today. Collect a package, shipping around the world, or straight to Cayman? You got it. Give us a call on 949-5989. Collection by personalized appointment only, where our dedicated agents are on standby to personally assist you. Don't forget to wear your mask, maintain social distancing, and one person per appointment. Check us out at miraclebrokers.com today. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.